What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Lady T, with Make It Make Sense Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. And I hope y'all checked us out last week. I didn't go on last Monday, but we did the Wow That's Crazy podcast, and that aired last Monday. So if y'all didn't see that, go check that out. Also, last week, we was pretty busy. We had Judas Priest on Tuesday. We welcomed Jevy back on Wednesday. Thursday, Fresh and Jevy did their thing with the sports. And then Friday, of course, y'all had us all. So if y'all wasn't there for those things, y'all make sure y'all go back and check that out. Today, we are going to be talking about domestic violence, which those of you that watch me, y'all know I've done this before. I did one back in October for domestic violence awareness. And shout out to my girl, Deshaya, that came on here with me and she told her story and it was good. And, if y'all didn't see that, y'all can always go on the Mix podcast or YouTube or any of these sites and check that out. It aired back in October. So shout out to her again. Thank you again to Cheyenne. And I hope that her story potentially helps somebody. Domestic violence, it's a real thing. It's an ongoing thing. And unfortunately, it's so many people going through it. And unfortunately, it's so many people that's going to lose their life due to this. So this is why I don't mind talking about this again, over and over again, because if me talking about it and spreading the awareness will help one person, I'm all for that because this is a real thing and we don't want to be losing no people to this. Domestic violence, when you think about domestic violence, most people, immediately think about physical abuse to a woman from a man. And a lot of times that is what domestic violence is, but men go through it too. And a lot of times we just don't hear about it because they're embarrassed. You know, they don't want people to know that a woman is putting their hands on them and different things like that. But men go through it too. And violence is not just physical, it's mental, it's verbal, it's sexual, it's psychological, it's all kind of forms of abuse. So what we need to do is try to pay attention to the signs because normally in these situations, a person don't start off physically abusing you. A lot of times it start off verbally or mentally, and then stuff will just change in character, making threats about what they're going to do to you or pushing you or getting in your face. Things change in character. So you pay attention to the signs because these things normally will lead up into a violent situation. So today I have a special guest. And before I bring her out here, I just want to say I am just so honored that she reached out and she wanted to come and tell her story because she went through a lot. It was bad. And the fact that she want to come and tell her story to try to help somebody else, I respect that so much. And I'm just so honored that she chose me to do this with her. So we're going to bring her out, Miss Brandy Smith. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I hope you're having a good day.
Yes, I just want to thank you again for, spending your evening with me. I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank
So
you for having me. Thank you all for having me. I know the boys are going to join later.
so let's tell us about Brandy. Tell us about yourself. Who is Brandy
I'm
Smith?
I'm 48. Fixing to have a birthday in March. I'm a single mom. I have two wonderful children. My daughter's 26 and my son is 15. And I am a domestic violence and sexual violence advocate. I am a co author of a book that me and nine other women wrote about domestic violence. And I am just relocating to the Memphis area from Arkansas, coming from Arkansas. And so I feel like I'm kind of starting over a little bit. So new area. So I'm gonna put my name out there and see what I can do out here and see what men and women I can help and hopefully do my spreading of I like to spread awareness any way I can when it comes to, like I said, domestic violence and sexual violence, any form of abuse. So
Okay. All right. So, tell us a little bit about the book. Just a little bit. I don't want too much because I want people to go out and buy this book. But just tell us a little bit about the book, what it's about, and like what inspired you to write this book.
Well, um, it's called She Wins Too. And She Wins One did so well that the author, Alyssa Devine, decided to do She Wins Too. And what it is several of us ladies that have gone through, very traumatic experience tell our story. And of course, if we can get through to one person by them reading our story, then we've, served our purpose. I'm a 5 year survivor of my ex-husband tried to murder me 5 years ago. And I knew that day when I survived that day. I survived because of my children, but because God was with me that day. I knew that day that I had a purpose in life. There was a whole new purpose. I've been in the medical field for 16 years, taking care of patients, and have always loved that. But I knew that day that I had another purpose, and that was to help other victims, survivors, you know, um, survive what I had just went through. Um, and I'll, get more into, that day, in just a minute. But the book, she got in touch with me and she had heard about my story. And I thought, writing a book, absolutely. That's a huge thing. And I'm always wanting to spread awareness. And I thought, this is going to be great if somebody can hear my story, read that my story in this book, or read somebody else's, and it may, it can save their life, then absolutely. And so the book came out in October. We worked on it for about a year and a half, and the ladies are from everywhere, different parts of the states. And so I didn't know any of these ladies, but while we were writing the book, we all kind of kept like we all did like a group that we joined. And so that's how we kind of kept in touch with each other and everything. Once the book was over, we did a retreat and we all met for the first time, which was very inspiring to finally meet everybody in the book. And so I just kind of promote my book. I do some book signing when I can. And so it's been, pretty big ordeal, the book, so it's not every day you write a book, but
Amen.
um, I just look at it as being something that hopefully, inspires other people and, saves lives is what I'm hoping, that it does. That was my purpose in doing it. And so I'm hoping that that's what it does.
Okay. All right, guys, so y'all check that book out. She Wins Too. I'm gonna get a copy of it myself, but y'all make sure y'all check that out. And I can't say enough. I'm just very honored and happy that you're doing this because you never know who's watching this and they listening and it might open that door for them to get some help. So we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna just say, guys, before she gets started, because I'm about to have her tell y'all story. This is it's very heartbreaking. So for my tear jerkers, y'all get your tissue. But I'm gonna let her tell her story. And honey, I'm just happy that you're here with us today. So
Thank you.
you can tell us about your domestic violence story.
Okay. So I met my ex husband when I was 40. Um, Never been married. It kind of happened really fast. He was not somebody that I thought I would ever be totally attracted to. He was total opposite of what I thought I would end up being with. But we talked every day. We talked all night. The red flags that people talk about that I've learned about, I didn't know anything about those. I didn't know about the red flags and stuff that I've learned about. Um, He wanted to know everything about me, my kids, and I was very protective of my kids. Nobody got to meet my kids. Anybody that I tried to date, nobody got to meet my kids. But everything happened really fast. He lived in West Memphis. I lived in Little Rock. And within months, he was coming down to Little Rock. Long story short, we got engaged. We got married within the year. As soon as we got married, he turned. Everything changed, and he became very controlling because he treated me like a princess. And I thought, this is the man I'm supposed to marry. And after we got married, everything changed. And him and my son's relationship changed. I could tell my son didn't want to be around him anymore. Um, the first time I told him that I was not happy is when he took a box cutter to my neck and told me if I ever thought about leaving him, that he would slit my son's throat, and then he would slit my throat and then slit his throat and kill us all. My daughter lived with us until, I guess, for maybe 4 months, and then she moved out. After she moved out is when the physical abuse started, and got a little bit worse. I knew he was going to kill me. There was no doubt in my mind. Um, and the thing that I've learned that I try to talk to other advocates about is you can get trained as an advocate, but you have to be very careful because there's different levels of abuse where you can't just tell somebody, you need to leave today. You need to pack your stuff and leave today. If somebody had told me that, there was no way that I could leave that man without some kind of God sent plan. I knew he was going to kill me. He made sure to tell me he would kill my kids if he couldn't get to me first. 100% knew it was going to happen. So for me to call the police and the police come and have him leave my house was not, and me to get a restraining order, not an option for somebody like me. A piece of paper was not going to save me and my kids. For me to go live with my mother, or for my mother and dad to say, hey, you need to get out of my daughter's house, not an option. I knew that he would come back. He would have killed, like, he was going to kill us. If so, when he said, don't tell anybody, I will kill you and the kid, 100%, I knew that was going to happen. I was in a situation where I did not know how to get out and scared to death. So I tried to be the good wife and until I could figure out what to do. My daughter's 21st birthday was coming up. I wanted her to have a good birthday. And then after that, I was going to take matters into my own hands. And it wasn't until recently that I finally was able to voice when I say take matters into my own hands, I was going to kill him myself because that was the only way out for me. Before year the after he went to prison for all this, I would tell people I was going to take matters into my own hand, but I never was able to get it out where I would admit that I was going to kill him. But that was what I was going to do. After my daughter's birthday, I knew that I was going to have to physically kill him myself and that I was probably going to go to jail because that's just what happens these days. There are women in jail that killed their significant other because they were being abused, but unfortunately they're in jail for it. But that was the only way out for me. So my daughter's birthday was, we lived in Little Rock. My daughter's birthday, her dad was getting her dream car. I was not going to miss that. It's in Memphis is where he lived, her dad and her stepmother. They invited me to the birthday party. My husband was not going to let me go by myself. So we drove down to the birthday party. My husband was very drunk before we even got there. I asked him to please not my daughter's birthday party up. And he said, then act like a real wife. He drank all day at the birthday party. My daughter got her car. She gave everybody rides. And my husband kept whispering in my ear all day, I see you flirting. I'm going to kill you when we get home. I'm going to F you up. I'm going to rape you. I mean, stuff like this. And mind you, there was forced bedroom activity all the time at home before this happened as well. And even though you're married, no means no. And, you know, I try to, when I speak at, you know, the colleges or whatever, you know, I try to let people, even though you're married, because this happens so much, and learn, you know, when I worked at the women's, the shelter, women for some reason feel like if they're married to their husband, that it's okay for them to have to give in. But if you don't, like, no means no, period, whether you're married or not. But there was forced bedroom activity all the time. He was telling me, you know, when we get home, I'm gonna, you know,
Beat you up or
beat and rape you, and you know, just all this stuff. And my daughter, we were all outside, and the driveway was inclined, and we had to park. Everybody had to park on the side of the road. And when she pulled up for her last time, my kid's dad and his wife were standing kind of beside us. Well, he grabbed me by the back of my neck, and my kid's dad saw that, and he ran over at the same time that my daughter got out of the car. And he said, hey, you're not going to put your hands on my kid's mom. And he said, matter of fact, you need to leave the party. And he escorts him all the way down to the street. And my daughter was crying, and she said, you know, don't ever touch my mom like that again. So he says, Brandy, let's go. And I said, I'm not going with you. And he said, well, I need my phone to call somebody. So my son went and got his phone. Well, he had gotten to the car, and it was so loud because there were so many people in the street and in the driveway. I didn't hear that he had started the car. And he was sitting in the driver's seat, and the door was open. So I came around the door to hand him his phone. And when I did, he reached up and grabbed me by my shirt and floored the car and drug my body underneath the car 500 feet. And I just remember being drugged, and I remember the pain in my feet. The skin was coming off of my feet as I was being drugged on the concrete. And I remember thinking, I'm fixing to die, because if he lets go of me, I'm going to get run over. And then I remember looking up. Sorry.
No, take it to
And seeing my daughter running after the car. And I remember thinking, if this is the last face I see before I die, then I'm okay. And he kept driving, and I couldn't see her anymore. And he eventually stopped, and he reaches down and he grabs me and he pulls me over into the passenger seat. And he starts going, and he just starts beating me and beating me. And I managed to get my seatbelt on, and he said, we're fixing to die. And so, again, I thought I was fixing to die. And at this point, he's hit me so much in this eye, I can't really see. So I just put my head down, and I could feel the car just going this way, and he's floored it. And I just remember saying, God, take care of my kids. And he just floors it, and we hit a tree. And after all the smoke cleared, I realized that I did not die again. I look over at him and I think, okay, what am I going to do? And I just said, baby, let's go home. We can work this out. So I tried the reverse psychology.
Mm.
And he looks at me and there was nothing there. He looked right through me and there was nothing there but anger, hatred. And I knew that it was still like he was going to kill me. So he gets out, pulls me out. I'm barefooted. There's glass everywhere. He pulls me out. We get on the concrete and I get up out of the car and I look and I just remember thinking, oh my God, I'm in a neighborhood. This is great. Where is everybody? Somebody's got to be here. And he throws me on the ground. He gets on top of me and he starts banging my head on the concrete. And I remember thinking, I can't, God, take me now. I can't handle the pain. And then my kids flashed in my head. And I thought, if he knocks me out, he's going to kill me. And so I put my hands in the back of my head to cushion the blows. And all of a sudden, he stands up and with his boots, he just starts kicking me in my face and in my neck and kicking me in my head. He knocked all my teeth out. And the brain trauma that I have now, I think, is probably from the blows from banging my head and from kicking. But then he came on this side and started kicking. Finally, we hear sirens, and he realized he wasn't going to be able to kill me, so he got on top of me to dismember my face. And I tried to do like this. He bit a chunk out of my hand. He bit my thumb and crushed it. He bit a chunk out of my face. And then as they were pulling, or he tried to rip my mouth open and pull my tongue out. And then as they were trying to get him off, he grabbed my eye and twisted it. And they got him off. And after that, I was in and out. I could hear his boots like scuffing on the concrete like he was fighting with them. And I remember a guy telling me, honey, you're going to be okay. And I said, please don't let him go. And he was yelling, let me at her, let me at her. And he told the police officer, tell her when I make bail, I'm coming to kill her and the kids. So because of that, he didn't make bail, which I guess was a blessing. I remember the gurney popped up and I was kind of woke up then. And as I couldn't hear, like I couldn't really hear anything. I just remember it being really quiet. And as they're fixing to put me on the ambulance, I remember this little girl screaming, like it was a scream of a girl or a baby, it sounded like, but it was just a constant scream from a girl, all I could hear. And we got in the back of the ambulance and I was in and out. And I remember the ambulance guy saying he called into the hospital and said, we'll be there in 15 minutes. And I just said, did you say 15 minutes? And he said, yes. And I said, I'll never make it. And he said, Miss Smith, we're going to get you there. And I said, you don't understand. My head is swelling. My brain is swelling. Everything's swelling. I'm never going to make it. And he said, Miss Smith, you're going to be okay. And I said, you don't understand. I'm not going to make it. And he said, Miss Smith, we're going to get you there. You're going to be fine. And I said, everything on me is tightening up. There's no way I'm going to make it. And he said, Miss Smith, your daughter is in the front seat. You're going to be okay. And I said, did you say my daughter's in the front seat? And he said, yes. And I said, she found me. And he said, yes. And I said, 15 minutes, let's do it. And so I was out. I remember getting to the hospital. I remember the bed shaking and they took me to surgery. And when I woke up, my daughter was there. And so she was a big part of everything. My kids are everything. And I think that the thought of me needing to be there for them and knowing that I needed them, they needed me, helped me pull through everything. But they've been my rock. It's really been hard for them. Especially my daughter. I later found out that she ran as far as she could after the car, and then she fell to her knees, thinking that she was never going to see me again, and she couldn't breathe. And they jumped in the car trying to find us. By the time they found us, everything was taped off, and she started screaming really loud, and that was that scream, that little girl scream that I heard was her. They wouldn't let her pass the tape. But I've heard that scream for 21 years at the time, and I didn't hear anything else, the sirens, nothing, but I heard that scream because I've heard that scream for that voice that for 21 years, and that was her. And her dad had told the police officer that's her mom, and we don't know if she's going to make it. Can she please come through? And so they let her through to ride with me. And so those are just things that, were important parts and, events, for both of us, and that made it in the book or on the TV show that I was on, or, stuff like that. But he got 18 years for aggravated kidnapping and first degree attempted murder. And later found out that he was also abusing my son. That I did not know about that. So that was very hard for me to deal with as well as a parent, because I thought I was the only one, I guess, being abused. I knew that their relationship had changed. My son was only 9 at the time. And so I did not know my son was hiding it, because he was telling my son that if you tell anybody that I'm doing this to you, I will slit your mom's throat, and then I will kill you. And so my son did not tell because of that. And so my daughter has a lot of guilt, because she moved out, and she feels like if she wouldn't have moved out, that me and her brother, might not have been abused. So it's been 5 years. It's totally blessed that we're here. Absolutely. It's just been a process, a learning process. You don't know much about domestic violence and red flags and any of the court. You just don't know anything. You don't have an advocate. You don't know anything about the court system or therapy. You don't know anything. And I was by myself. I hadn't, well, besides my family and kids, but I didn't know anything, and I didn't have anybody. And what I have learned today is you don't have to go through any of it by yourself. There is somebody out there to help you throughout the whole entire process. And so my goal is to make sure that the people that go through it these days, that they don't have to go through it by themselves. They don't have to learn these things on their own. They don't have, because you're already going through so much. I had 16 surgeries. It's the healing process is enough, to have to deal with. And then your kids, there's just so much you already have to deal with. You need those advocates. You need those people that know about the court system and the people that can take care of, all these other things that you don't have to worry about, because there's people that can do that for you. I didn't have that. So I'm just full of information now, full of education, full of resources. Like, I've just learned all this stuff, and I'm like, I've got it all. Well, and of course, it's been because I do have brain trauma. Um, I did develop trauma-induced narcolepsy, which is a sleep disorder, and PTSD and anxiety. Like, all these things are real, but you learn to quit them. And of course, my right eye, can't see anything to the right unless I look all the way. It's a process. Um, but I'm inspired because I know how much I've learned and how much knowledge I have. And I've got it all bundled up, and I'm ready to, I keep saying I want to do my own nonprofit, or, I want to do my own website, or, whatever, and start helping, because what I've been through, I've hit rock bottom. I've done self-harm. I've seen how bad people can hit rock bottom, and
Mhm.
actually, lose their self to drugs and alcohol, and going back to and it there's just so much that can happen when there's so much out there that can help them prevent those things from happening.
Mhm.
So I'm a talker. I told you that in the beginning. So
Oh no.
I'm gonna breathe for a minute, because
No. It's all good. I'm just it's just listening to this. It's just the way that I'm feeling inside. I'm just like, oh my, just thinking about your daughter witnessing that, and then him doing that to your son. It's so heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking what you went through, period. But I'm
oh yeah,
just like putting myself in your daughter's shoes that day, and to
right,
see that happening to my mother. Oh my God. Like,
yes. And a lot of people, when I started off, jumped right into everything. I didn't take time to heal myself. What I did was the doctor show. I was on TV a lot. I immediately started doing the motivational speaking and doing events, and I was just so, I've got to help. I've got to help. And I didn't take the time to heal myself. But then found out about my son, because that did take a minute. He didn't tell us right in the beginning. But my whole thing was, everybody kept saying, bless your heart, bless your heart, bless your heart. My whole thing was my kids. That's all I kept worrying about, was no 21-year-old should watch their mother be drug under a car. I just, and to have to imagine what she is going through, and then the guilt that she has, because I know the guilt I have, or I had. It's a therapy process, but when I found out about my son being abused, there was so much guilt there. How did I not know? It's right under my roof. I'm his mother. I'm supposed to be the protector. How dare I let this happen? And then I had to think, bless her heart, because she moved out, and she thinks, you know, if I wouldn't have moved out, my mom and my brother might not have been abused so bad. And so this has been very hard for her,
yeah.
um, and him. It's just, and they deal with it different. Everybody deals with trauma different.
Yeah.
Um, everybody does. Some people talk about it, and others don't. And my kids don't talk about it. Um, I've been doing therapy for 5 years. I love it. I love my therapist. I've had the same one. My kids, they do not want to talk to anybody. Um, my daughter will talk to me, and have her break down to me. But and I'm glad of that. I need her to. She's been my rock. She's been to every event I've spoke at. She's been to just everything I've done. She's been there. And my son, he deals with it different. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want it brought up. He doesn't want to read the book. And that's okay. That's okay, because I've talked to my therapist about it. And that's okay for him to be like that, and
Right.
so, but still, it's kind of like domestic violence. Just because I was the one drug under the car doesn't mean it just happened to me. It happened
Right.
to my family, you know. And family members don't always know how to handle it. They don't always know what to say. They don't always know how to act, or even your friends don't always know what to say to you or how to act, you know. And that's something else that I've learned and educated myself on, is to how to help family members, and friends and stuff, the best way that you can sometimes when things like that happen. And I've learned that in my situation and most situations, the best thing for me was to talk to other survivors, other victims, other people that had been through what I had been through. Because my mom or my best friend can say, "Honey, I'm so sorry. I know how you're feeling, or I don't know how you're feeling, but I want to help." Things like that. But it doesn't help me. What helped me was talking to other people, listening to their story, reading their story, joining their groups, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this happens so much. They know exactly what I'm going through."
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, because you do have family members to this day, I will be honest and say that I have family members that say, "It's been 5 years. Why do you still talk about it?" Or, "Why can't you forget about it?" Or, "Why does it
Wow.
still bother you as much?" Or, and what I've learned is that that's normal. My therapist has told me that that's normal, for some family members to feel like that, and that I'm never going to get over it.
Oh,
It's just something I'm not going to get over it. I'm just not. There's just no way you can get over something like that. So,
yeah.
but
That's a lot, and that's like really I feel like that's very insensitive for a person to even, you don't know what you're going through or how you're feeling, and everybody is different, so I just think that's kind of
right.
insensitive for people to say things like that. You have to take your time to deal with things the way you need to deal with. I just want to ask you a few questions,
Mhm.
because I want people to kind of get this picture of how when you're in this situation, how things kind of go. So, um, in the beginning of y'all relationship, like, did you have any type of thought? Did he like any type of signs that made you think that he was that type of person, or was it
Absolutely
more
not.
so? No, see, so he was just
Absolutely not. And he treated me like a princess. And I you you look for red flags, and now I probably, I try to be this person, because I don't want to be that woman that tries to date now and is just like, he said, that sentence
right,
was too long. That's a red flag. Or, he asked me my
right,
last name. That's a red flag. I don't want to be that picky. You know what I'm saying? Um,
right,
but because I know that can happen, and I don't want to let one horrible, bad person,
yeah,
ruin it for everybody. But I have tried to heal. It's 5 years. I've taken my time and everything. But there are red flags that you can definitely pay attention to. And
hmm,
now that I look back, absolutely, they were there. Um, him making comments about wanting to move out in the country and it just be us. Him wanting to know so much. What he did was he wanted to know so much about me, my kids, my family. And he took advantage of me giving him all that information and turning himself into somebody that was um, liked everything that I liked and my kids liked and my parents liked, when he was not that everything I found out later on was a lie. Our
Right.
whole marriage was a lie. Like, he told me that he grew up poor, his dad died, his mother was um, a, a drug-headed prostitute, and that him and his brothers had to eat out of the dumpster, stuff like that. Played off of my emotions, bad for him. That's not why I was with him, but none of that was true. Not a thing he ever told me was true. Um, there was definitely red flags, absolutely,
Okay.
that I should have paid attention. The speediness,
Okay. So how long would you, if you had to just kind of guess, how long were you guys together before the first time he initially made physical contact towards you?
when we first got married, probably 4 or 5 months in the marriage, but there was definitely um, emotional abuse, and the mental abuse that was
Prior to that.
starting to go on. Yes.
Okay. Now, did he do the, oh, I promise I'll never do it again, and I'm so sorry, and trying to
The,
buy gifts and different things like that?
yeah. The one big thing that happened, one incident that happened with me and my son were there, and he was drunk, and I just told him, "Yeah, I can't do this," and he grabbed me, and my son happened to be there, and my son was so scared that he went to the kitchen to get a knife, and he pushed me up against the bathroom wall, and the towel rack broke, and my it sounded horrible to my son, and he wouldn't let me through the door. And so my son went and got a knife. He's 9 years old, and my ex-husband is yelling, "Yes, please come stab me, because without your mom, I don't have anything." And so he's yelling to the top of his lungs, "Come stab me, come stab me." And I'm yelling, "Tanner, look at mama," because in my son's eyes, he's a mama's boy, always has been. All he can see is, "You're hurting my mom." And so he's coming slowly at us with this knife at 9 years old. And Steve is yelling, "Just, yes, do it. Stab me right here, right here, right here." And I'm trying to get away. He will not let me through the doorway. And he's just yelling, "Stab me, stab me, stab me." And my son is slowly coming. And I keep saying, "Tanner, look at mama. Just look at mama. Look at me." Because I'm thinking, if I can get him to look at me, I can distract him enough that he won't keep coming with this knife. And he got so close, and somehow I got the power to just elbow him right in the gut, to where he let go enough to where I grab my son, pull him in the doorway, the knife falls on the floor, and I was able to shut the door. And Steve grabs the knife, comes in the door, slits his wrist in front of us,
Oh,
and then pulls the door shut and locks us in there the rest of the day. And the next day, his apology was he had went and got a huge tattoo on his back of a heart. My daughter's name is Taylor. My son's name is Tanner. And then I'm Brandy. And so it said Tay, Tan, Bran. It had a dagger through it with blood dripping. And that was him saying, um, "My
he's
heart
sorry.
bleeds." Yeah, "My heart bleeds for y'all," which is so stupid to me. But yes, so he has this huge tattoo on his back. That was his apology.
Wow. Oh, okay. So if someone was to come to you, someone was going through this and they came to you and said, "Hey, Brandy, this is what it is," and they tell you a domestic violence story, what advice, especially with everything you've been through, what advice would you give that person?
So that's where, in the beginning, like I was saying, as an advocate, you have to really know the person's situation. Because in my situation, if somebody was to tell me they know for 100% this man is going to kill them, you can't tell that person the same thing you would tell somebody that comes to you and says, so I've started dating this guy 6 months and he's starting to be really controlling. You see how those are two totally different
Right.
situations. So you really have to know the situation, because you don't want to endanger the person by telling them the wrong thing. Yes, you want them to leave. Of course, you want them out of that situation. Absolutely. But it's a matter of how they got it, because there are plans that you can make with them, escape plans, emergency, plans. There's, you know, ways that we can go about doing it. There's shelters, and there's always, resources that, like, if somebody said they were from Tennessee here, I could in one day find out the shelters, resource numbers, hotline numbers, um, just different things that I could give them. I could also talk to different lawyers' offices, and, just depending on what information they're asking me and what they need. Um, so that's kind of, I would have to, that's the information you have to find out, but they have to get out. Absolutely. Um, because it's never going to end up good. I've
Right.
seen situations, you know, the best friend ends up getting killed because they come over to try to help, the victim
Mhm.
pack up and leave, and the husband or the boyfriend comes home. You just never know what situation is going to happen. So it's never a good situation to be in, period. Um, and we all know that, you hear it all the time about either they get out of jail and it was only a piece of, a restraining order was already, they already got a restraining order. A piece of paper, I mean, I know we have our law, but a piece of paper is not going to stop a
No.
man from coming over and beating somebody, killing somebody. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it, period. So you just have to be very careful on what you tell them or where they go,
Hmm.
because I've heard too many stories where the wife gets killed, the kids get killed, the mother gets killed because they've gone to the mother's house. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh boy. Whew. This was a lot. I just want to just because I'm listening to your story, and honey, I just, my heart for you. I'm just so happy that you got out of that you're still here, and like I said, I'm happy that you came on here and did this because somebody needed to hear this today. If you are watching this
Oh,
and you are going through something, please try to get some help. There is help. You do not have to stay in these situations. So I just want to thank you again, Brandy, for sharing your story. I hope that it inspires somebody to get
me
that help
too.
that they need.
Like I
I
said, just that one person, if it just that one person reads it,
yeah,
or or sees it, I'm good with that.
yes, I really appreciate this. And y'all make sure y'all check out her book. Y'all grab that book, check it out. Even if you're not going through this type of thing, this it's probably just a good read. So check that book out, you guys. Otherwise, y'all know what the In the Mix podcast got going on for the rest of the week. Y'all got my boy Judas Priest every morning giving y'all them words and inspirations. He's doing special proverbs for you guys this month for Black History. Y'all also get him tomorrow night. You got my boy Jevy. He's back. He'll be here Wednesday doing his thing. You got Mr. Fresh on Thursday. And then Friday, you get us all, and it will be Black History Month. So we will be talking a lot about that. So y'all make sure y'all check us out. Otherwise, y'all have a great rest of the week. Lady T will see y'all on Friday. Thank you again, Miss Brandy. And we're out of
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.